All right, let's just jump right into this explainer and completely reconstruct how we think about the modern banking industry. We're going to look at the massive seismic shift happening right now just beneath the surface of our financial institutions. It's a huge transformation, and it's being driven by AI, cloud native architecture, and honestly, a completely new operational mindset. So, what actually makes a truly digital bank? I want to start off by challenging your immediate assumption here. When most of us hear digital banking, we picture, a slick mobile app, maybe a biometric login, or a customer service chatbot that kind of barely understands us. But that is just the surface. Look, if a bank is only changing the interface without completely rewiring how the institution fundamentally operates, they aren't a digital bank. They're just a traditional bank wearing digital makeup. In this explainer, we're going to peel back the layers. We'll look beyond the mobile app, map out the three fundamental banking layers, and step inside modern AI architecture. Then we'll hit the zero operations mandate, the autonomous banking era, and finally, who's actually leading the pack globally. Section 1. Beyond the mobile app. Here's the crucial reality. Retail banking today is about 70% architecture and only 30% interface. Most people only see the app, but the real challenge is like 5 layers deeper. It is fundamentally an architectural challenge, not just a design challenge. Building a modern financial institution requires a complete top-to-bottom rethink of how data moves, how decisions are made, and how all these systems actually connect to each other. You can really see this divide clearly when you compare the two. On one side, legacy banks basically took existing branch infrastructure, bolted an app onto it, and called it digital. I mean, only 35% of them run open APIs, and a staggering 60% still rely on clunky batch processing in their front and middle offices. On the flip side, digital natives like Monzo and Revolut are mobile first from day one. 85% of them run open APIs for real-time payments, utilizing real-time AI decisioning. And this is exactly why legacy banks are drowning in technical debt, while cloud-native challengers can pivot with incredible speed and cut their infrastructure costs by up to 50%. Frankly, a bank that can't draw its own architectural layers clearly probably can't execute them either. Section 2. The three banking layers. Okay, so a truly digital bank transforms across three interconnected layers. Step 1 is the customer layer, the mobile apps, the chatbots. This is what you and I see, and it's where most of the investment goes, but it doesn't fundamentally change how the bank operates. Step 2 is the workflow layer. This is the hidden engine, loan origination, AML investigations, regulatory reporting. This is actually where banks achieve the fastest return on investment. With AI, a credit assessment workflow that used to take days can literally be completed in hours. Finally, step 3 is the core layer. This is the bedrock. Cloud migration, real-time analytics, API ecosystems. Without modernizing this deep core layer, any flashy AI initiative you launch is really just a pilot program. For you as a consumer, this is the exact difference between a bank that intuitively anticipates your financial needs versus one that just spams you with automated emails. Section 3. Inside modern AI architecture. That number is absolutely staggering. 1 billion transactions processed every single month. And this is exactly what HSBC is doing by running massive financial crime workloads on Google Cloud's AML AI platform. They're treating AI not as some standalone gimmick, but as a deeply embedded utility across their entire value chain. Now, to actually achieve that level of scale, HSBC follows a super deliberate engineering sequence. First off, they simplified their estate by retiring 3,000 legacy applications, just eliminating massive amounts of operational dependencies. From there, they utilize 3 distinct deployment topologies based on their regulatory and data needs. So they use managed ML on Google Cloud for that high-volume anti-money laundering we just talked about. They tap into API-based frontier models like OpenAI for complex reasoning, strictly protecting client data so it's never used to train external models. And for low-latency, highly secure document analysis across 57 countries, they use self-hosted foundation models like Mistral AI right inside their own perimeter. By separating their data, inference, and control planes like this, they maintain complete operational and regulatory control everywhere they operate. It's pretty brilliant. Section 4. The Zero Operations Mandate. I want you to just sit with this provocative quote for a second. All user input is error. It's a maxim from Elon Musk, mentioned in our source text, and in the context of banking operations, it's an incredibly useful lens to look through. It doesn't mean people are incompetent, right? It just means humans are inconsistent by design. We get tired, we make assumptions, we interpret ambiguous instructions differently depending on how busy we are. Every manual touchpoint in a banking process just introduces variability. Which brings us to a really vital operational philosophy. Zero operations absolutely does not mean zero people. If you frame it that way, you're going to derail the conversation with anxiety before it even starts. Zero operations means zero unnecessary human touchpoints in a process chain. A KYC check or a payment settlement should just execute without someone in the middle manually dragging and dropping files. The human role totally shifts from mindless execution to actually designing systems, monitoring them, and handling the genuinely complex exceptions. Our sources highlight a digital challenger bank in the GCC that utilized this exact philosophy to build a customer onboarding process that completes in under 3 minutes. And they didn't do it by working faster. They did it by intentionally removing every single step that only existed out of organizational habit rather than actual regulatory necessity. Section 5. The Autonomous Banking Era. This right here is the Autonomous Banking Operating System, or ABOS for short. For decades, banks have poured billions into digitizing workflows, yet they still sit on these fragmented architectures and messy data silos. The challenge is no longer just modernization. We are stepping into a multi-trillion-dollar paradigm shift. The real challenge is building an AI-native, continuously learning enterprise capable of 80 to 95% straight-through processing. This means creating a banking system that learns, decides, and executes at an enterprise scale with minimal human intervention. Because banking operations are evolving into this massive, intelligence-driven value creation engine, what banking leadership actually tracks is radically changing. Tomorrow's executive dashboard isn't just going to look at basic workflow completion. Instead, executives will monitor the STP, or straight-through processing rate, right alongside the decision automation rate. They'll track the precise cost per transaction, the success rate of autonomous AI agents, and their operational resilience index. This is really all about unlocking growth and competitive advantage by making operations hyper-efficient. Section 6. Top global digital banks. So let's take a look at who's actually winning this global race. We aren't just talking about simple savings apps anymore. We are looking at daily financial operating systems. In North America, you've got SoFi cross-selling banking and tech to nearly 14 million members. In Europe, Revolut has expanded way beyond just travel cards to over 68 million customers. And over in Asia, WeBank is leveraging data-led finance for over 400 million users. But you've got to listen to this number from South America's Nubank, $2.9 billion in net profit for 2023, driven by a massive 131 million customer base. That is absolute proof that financial inclusion, when it's driven by low-cost, cloud-native technology, isn't just a nice, feel-good idea. It is highly lucrative. The technology keeps the operational costs so incredibly low that they can profitably serve demographics that traditional banks completely ignore. Now, contrast that massive global scale with the rapidly emerging market in the GCC. Right now, only the UAE and Saudi Arabia have granted standalone digital banking licenses, 4 in the UAE and 3 in Saudi Arabia. Other nations in the region are kind of either just issuing frameworks or they're relying on digital brands that operate strictly under the umbrella of traditional incumbent banks. But the shared challenge across all these markets is exactly the same, building something structurally distinct, not just a cleaner interface. Which brings us to our final, and honestly probably our most important question. Are your organizations truly building autonomous operations or simply digitizing existing inefficiencies? If you're just taking a broken manual process and slapping it onto a sleek app, you are completely missing the trillion-dollar transformation. You have to rebuild from the core layer up. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this leaves you looking at your own digital transformation journey in a completely new light.